Well, for more on China's creative and cultural industries, I'm joined by Li Xin, live from Singapore. She's Managing Director of Financial Media Group, Caixin Global. Welcome to the show.
Good to talk to you again, Rachelle.
Now, in the party work report, Xi Jinping highlighted the role of cultural confidence. How do you think that will affect the creative and cultural industry overall?
Well, the cultural confidence is not the first time to appear in the theme, but you can definitely see, and you talked about that briefly just now, that it's echoed by the patriotic theme along the Chinese theater and many of the Chinese creative works as well. So there is a sentiment to support that. And also, I think, just like highlighted by his speech given 2 weeks ago, that there probably will be more works that encouraging the positive energy and also try to inspire the people.
Now, as China's role on the global stage expands, how important is it for people both inside and outside of China to have a better understanding of the culture?
Oh, it's critically important. And I mean, inside China, you can see this pent-up need to have more creative consumption and with people with more disposable income, and also the mass or the consumers of creative works going from the upper middle class to the mass to even the lower middle class. So the group is definitely expanding in China. Like you mentioned, the market is huge. And outside China, I think that goes along with the increasing interest about China. It's the second largest economy in the world. It's expanding rapidly. You have Chinese companies everywhere. So naturally, people want to understand more about China. So behind that, you'll have more subsidized, state-owned media industries expanding, and also you have the private sector expanding as well. Caixin Global as one of the examples that we're providing the Chinese journalism to the world. So basically, you have both the state and also the private sectors going abroad, and there will be more and more cultural products catering to the world market and to supply to the increasing interest on China.
So then, given the large economic contributions we've already seen from China's culture and creativity and the related sectors, where do you see the market potential growing, especially as Chinese people become more wealthy?
Oh, well, the market potential is huge in several sectors. Just now we mentioned the film, the publishing, and also increasingly in the last couple of years, the internet sector is bringing a lot of different business models, such as the one is very popular is the knowledge sharing platforms. And just like we mentioned, it's moving down from the upper middle class to the lower middle class. And people with slightly less educational levels or general interest about the culture stuff now become part of the market. So one example would be the very popular website, Dao. And the assumption they are using is the market they're targeting is for people who can buy one book per year on social science. So that is a mass market. So the technology made it possible that different business models have been tested on the ground, and we'll see more booming industries coming from different sectors.
And there's certainly a wide range to pick from. We mentioned music, film, art, literature, and other creative outlets. So what are the trends that you're seeing in the global market in terms of demand from outside China for Chinese cultural products?
Well, the demand, I think that's obvious coming from the books, the publishing, the media, the film, and the other creative industries. And the demands are different in the developed world and the developing world. For instance, I'm in Southeast Asia, and in some of the countries neighboring China, they have long been consumers of Chinese-produced films and TV series, and in the developed world, the consumption is probably more on the information and news, and increasingly on Chinese films. So I think overall the theme is with increasing interest on China, there will be more and more export and expansion of Chinese cultural products overseas. But in different markets, there will be different demands.
And is there anything that you're seeing in terms of challenges that could potentially hinder the healthy growth of this sector?
Well, the number one challenge people usually have in mind is IP protection and intellectual property protection. And that is still a very big challenge in China, especially as the technology is growing so fast and internet sharing. And that makes it even harder to protect IP. But having said that, I think the positive side of that is it used to be the IP protection is primarily campaigned and promoted by foreign content suppliers. But now the Chinese, because the Chinese creative industry is growing so fast, and the domestic players, domestic content producers are on the forefront of protecting IP as well. So together with that is the increasing government policy and regulatory structure to protect IP better. So putting together all these forces, I'm actually optimistic that the IP protection will be hugely improved in the coming years.
All right, well, thank you so much for your insights. Li Xin, Managing Director at Caixin Global.